Welcome to Exodus Ministry. My name is Justin, and in today's video I have several topics that I actually want to cover, but most of those will be encompassed or wrapped into the primary topic, which is how doing this tent revival ministry has really opened my eyes to the persecution that is coming for you and I, even right here in small town USA. Here's what I mean by that. For those of you that don't know, my wife and I, we live in southwest Missouri. We live in a small town. There's lots of small towns around us, 15, 20, 30, maybe 45 minutes away. You can find towns of up to starting anywhere between 500 and somewhere around 14,000, 15,000, somewhere like that, right? So we're talking about small towns kind of all around us. And for those of you that follow our channel, you know that we just recently held a revival in Lebanon at the Boswell Park. It was a 3-night revival. City of Lebanon said we could have 3 nights. I said we'll take it, and we had 3 nights of revival. We did have some technical difficulties, and I apologize for that. We did finally get the 3rd night to upload to the computer and be able to put it back out on YouTube. But before that revival, and even today, still today, continuing today, and so on and so forth, we have been trying to schedule revivals in other towns, primarily at their city parks or maybe at their fairgrounds or wherever we could try to get in. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because I hope it opens your eyes to the reality of the persecution, because sometimes I think, especially as Christians in the United States, we think if we live in these little small towns, there's not going to be any persecution come our way. Not really, right? But many of these small towns that I've contacted, one of two things has happened. Either they have just flat told us no, right? The Board of Aldermen met, City Council met, and they just say, no, we don't want you guys to come and set up in our city park. Or they just quit responding. Right? What do you guys do? We tell them, when would you like to do it? And we give them some approximate dates, but we let them know, like, hey, these dates aren't set in stone for us. We can modify them. We can do this next month, or the next month after that, or a month before that, or whatever works best for y'all. And usually what happens then is I just get no reply. And I reach out, and I'm like, hey, I haven't heard back from you. I just want to touch base with you. See if you have any information or if I can answer any more questions for you, and I just don't get a response. Funny enough, the same thing happens a lot of times as we are hunting insurance for our traveling tent ministry. Is I will get a hold of an insurance agent or an insurance broker, either one, and they'll ask me a handful of questions, and I'll respond to those questions, and they'll say, okay, let me see what we can find for you, and then it's just crickets. And I'll do the same type of email back to them, or phone call, or voicemail, or text message. Not only has this happened with insurance companies and cities, this has also happened with private individuals and those types of things. And so what I want you to understand is, if they will not let us set up maybe on city parks or on city grounds, set up a 20 by 40 tent with about 100 chairs. Now here's what you don't know is I have not asked for any of it for free. We have been willing to rent. We talked to a fair board, and they asked if we wanted them to donate to the fairgrounds, and we said no. We'd be glad to pay the rent. That's fine. They asked, hey, would you get porta potties? And yes, if we need to get porta potties, we'll get porta potties, and we'll have them delivered. Yet they still say no, right? City Park still saying no. City councilmen and boards still saying no. Now, what I find interesting about this is, like, logically it just doesn't make sense, right? Because they're going to get paid whatever their rental fee is for their park. And after the City of Lebanon, I will say that it's not the cheapest thing on the planet, right? It does cost a little bit to rent a park out like that. We're there after most hours that people would be there anyway, from like, say, 7 o'clock to 8, 9, 10, maybe 11 o'clock if it really gets into a wild service, right? And they're going to get consecutive days of payment. So it's kind of like, why would you say no to this? This doesn't make any sense, especially if they allow other events at their park, right? Because you might just say, well, maybe they just don't want you there. They're afraid of lawsuits and liabilities. And you did say, Justin, that you have trouble insuring. None of these cities, except for one that we'll discuss here in just a little bit, none of them have asked me about insurance yet. Not a single one of them. They're like, are you insured? They tell me no before that ever comes up, right? Or they quit responding before they ever ask that question. And so I don't know the legalities as far as what falls under freedom of religion and freedom of speech and right to assemble and all those kinds of things. I don't know the legalities. And so I did reach out to a law firm recently to try to learn those legalities, not so that I can sue little small towns around us or anything like that. It's not what I'm trying to do. It's not what I want to do. It's not what I'm going to do. But here's what I do want to know is I want to know the law for sure. I want something solid that I can stand on. I had a wise old man tell me one time whenever I was not living for the Lord and I did not care too much about the hunting and fishing laws. I just kind of went and got meat, right? Hopefully there's, if there's any conservation agents watching this now, I do follow all the laws now, and maybe hopefully there's a statute of limitations. It's been years and years and years since I did not care so much about the hunting and fishing laws, right? But he told me this. He said, if you're going to break the law, at least know what you're breaking. And I am not afraid, nor does it bother me to go to one of these small towns and gather in their park and hold revival services, even if it's against the law. Because if God puts it on my heart to go do this, and they say you can't set up your tent, I'll just say that's fine, right? We'll find a shade tree, but I'm still going to gather together. Are you really going to try to stop children of God or Christians or people from gathering together in your park underneath the shade tree where we, I believe, have the right to free speech, and we have the right to assemble, and we have the right to practice religion as we see fit? And so if that takes getting arrested, that's fine. We'll do that. But I want to make sure I understand the law before I go and do something like that. It's not going to stop me. Because I believe that God is supreme over even the laws of the land. And I believe the Bible fleshes that out over and over and over again. In fact, if anything, it lights a bigger fire down inside of me to say, we need this more. Like somebody has to be the ones willing to go and to spread the gospel, even if it's against the law. And here's my point of the persecution. If it is being stopped at the city level now, where it's like, hey, you can't come into our parks, we don't want you into our parks, or you just quit responding, which is you're saying no, but you don't want to say no. If that's happening to a tent revival, to a traveling tent ministry, how long do you think your brick and mortar churches are going to be safe for? How long do you really think that's going to last? Do you understand? I'm guessing it was not that many years ago. If somebody wanted to have a traveling tent revival and they wanted to come into your city and they asked they paid all their permits, they paid all their fees, they paid all their rental fees, they did all of that, and they wanted to set up. I bet it wasn't that long ago the city was glad to have them, right? And nowadays, that is not the case, not even close. And I wanted to tell you guys this, not for like a woe is me, that's not it. We're going to keep pressing on. We actually did have a city approve us the other day, contingent on being able to find insurance. So we are actively hunting up some insurance so that we can, even if it's just a one-time event insurance, so that we can get into their city park and hold a tent revival there. And that city said that we're more than welcome to come and do that as long as we can get insurance. And so that's what we're trying to do now, right? So, I'm not trying to get you to feel sorry for us, none of that. I just want you to have your eyes opened up to what is actually going on around us. And I want you to understand that this is in southwest Missouri, in little small towns of like 500, 1,000, 3,000, 7,000, maybe 14,000, where we are being stopped at the governmental level from setting up our tent. I also want to tell you this because we do have a lot of people that has given to our ministry. We have a lot of people that's given their resources, their financial resources, their work, their time, their prayer life, to helping to minister unto this ministry, if that makes sense, right? And I feel responsible. Like, I want you to know that we just didn't have a one and done at Boswell Park and now we're just going to sit back and not do nothing. That's not the case, right? We are trying very hard to move forward with what it is the Lord has asked us to do. Now, you may have this question. You may say, why are you not just setting up at churches, right? Maybe churches will let you in. Well, let me explain why. Part of the reason why I'm not setting up in churches is because I don't care how long a church has been in a community. If they've been there any length of time, there are people that will not come to a tent revival at that church because it's that church, or because there's certain people that go there, or maybe their denomination isn't quite the one you like, and so their people won't go. I know for a fact at Boswell Park there were Pentecostals there were Southern Baptists there were Free Will Baptists there were Missionary Baptists there were non-denominational people there were people that didn't go to church there. Like, right, we had kind of all kinds, and that's really what I desire to have. I don't really care a whole lot about denomination. It doesn't really matter to me. And so I was trying to get rid of that roadblock. And also, I've been a pastor, right? I've done that for several years, and I understand how awkward that would be if somebody got a hold of me, this red-bearded, suspender-wearing guy that looks a little bit Mennonite but preaches a little bit kind of Pentecostal and different. Like, he wants to come hold tent revival. Like, I don't know, man. I need to talk with this guy. I need serious time to pray about it, and I need to talk with. It would be irresponsible for a pastor, for me to call up a pastor and then just say, "Come on," right? Short of like the Lord really stirring on their heart, just for them to just green light it without talking to me and all of those things, right? And so those are some of the reasons why. And I also don't want to put a pastor in that position, right? Or church leadership in that position of, what if I come up there and I'm preaching against the paganism that is in a lot of our holidays today, and it causes those churches to have a big fight or a big split, right? Whenever I'm like, listen, we as a church should not be celebrating Halloween, and this is the history, and this is why we should not be doing this. What if that sends that pastor and the leadership into a tailspin? What if I talk about how this year in the United States of America, Easter was celebrated before Passover? That makes no sense. That should not be happening. And by the way, a lot of the things associated with Easter and the things that we do for Easter are extremely pagan, and we as the church should stop doing that, because you can't tell the difference between the church and the world, right? And see, I don't want to put other pastors in that predicament. However, we're not completely opposed to it, right? If you would like for us to come, or would you allow us to come set up in your church parking lot or your church area, man, we'd be thankful for it, right? Also, you know, if you got a vacant lot or a place that's got vacant lot and some parking, we'd be glad to, right? That's the other thing. I've reached out to private individuals, even extremely locally in the town that we live in, and cannot get responses. Right? You drop off cards, and I just want to visit with you, I'll talk with you about it, and you just can't get a response sometimes. Now, I know some of that is you just got to keep asking until you find the people that will, right? And we're glad to do that, and that's what we will keep doing. But that's the reason why we've not had any more revivals. Hopefully this next one, hopefully we can find some insurance, and as soon as we do, as soon as we get some insurance green lit, I will start announcing this revival that is kind of on the books tentatively right now, and letting you guys know what's coming next. However, you might be asking yourself, what can you do to help? The primary thing I would say that you can do to help is just pray. Right? Is to pray. To pray for this ministry, to pray that the Lord would open up doors and that we would be able to walk through them. You know, I know it's tempting to go, well, if you can't go to certain place, town X, I don't care, pick a town. If you can't, well, then maybe it's just because God didn't want you there. Well, here's the deal. I'm not Calvinist, right? I believe sometimes it is God's will for us to go do things, and I believe Satan will interfere with those things from time to time. And so, sometimes people get outside the will of God. Like, that's just, I don't want to get into a Calvinist debate, but that's what happens, right? And so, I don't know that it's always not necessarily God's will that we don't go someplace. Sometimes I think it is Satan rearing his ugly head, and it is just part of the warfare that we are fighting. So pray for us. Pray for this ministry. Pray for your local church. Pray for your brothers and sisters wherever they might be. And yeah, if you want to know what you can do to help us, you can be praying. That's what we need. We appreciate you guys watching. We'll catch you on the next video. Hopefully that explains kind of where we've been, what we've been doing, explains to those that have given to the ministry why we've not already had another tent revival. I have had a lot of people message me since our last one, when are you going to have another one? We're excited for another. We need another one of these. And so we've been praying about maybe we just do one, since the city of Lebanon worked with us easily and openly. Maybe we just do another one in the city of Lebanon. I don't know. But be praying. Be praying. We'll always take your prayers. Appreciate you guys. We'll catch you on the next one.